Alright, interesting article here on boxing scene. I'll read what the headline says. It says Wilder's manager, a fight with Zhang would rival Joshua versus Ngannou. Shelley Finkel, co-manager for former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, believes an impressive showing could get his fighter back in position for a showdown with Anthony Joshua. I'll quote him here directly. Well, it says Finkel is not ruling out the possibility of facing Zhang, but he'd also love to get his boxer a rematch with Joseph Parker. I think he's the only one who'd love to see that fight again. Credit to Joseph Parker, but it was not a compelling viewing. But I'll quote him here directly. He says, "Look, we would love Parker, but that hasn't been discussed. I wonder why. But in either case, if Zhang was presented, that would be a big fight," Finkel said. If that was on the same card as the fight with Joshua Ngannou, I think Deontay and Zhang would rival that. It would be a phenomenal show for the public again. I think the job that they did putting on all the heavyweights together on that card was wonderful. Interesting. So, Zhilei Zhang has talked about the possibility, well, it's likely that he's going to be on the Joshua Ngannou card on March the 8th. And, Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang just seems to be in that stage in his career where he doesn't care. He'll fight anybody. And at this point in Deontay Wilder's career, that Joseph Parker defeat, the way he looked in it, he just lacked that killer. He lacked that fire. He lacked everything. And I was thinking, he even spoke after it, kind of, you were thinking, is that the end? Is that him going to bow out gracefully? If he goes in there against Zhilei Zhang, I mean, they're going to have to put up a lot of money. But if Shelley Finkel is talking about it, I mean, likelihood is they probably would go for it. And if you think about it like this, with Deontay Wilder, if he wants to salvage something, if he wants to get that Anthony Joshua fight, if he still believes that fight is manageable, coming out the back of a loss to Joseph Parker in a fight where you didn't really do anything, it's not going to give you much sway at the table, is it? You go in there and you fight Zhilei Zhang, a guy who only has one loss, who has an interim WBO title. Now, an interim WBO title is better than being mandatory. It's not much better, but it is better because it means then that if, let's say, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, let's say there's a rematch, and whoever wins, say it's Fury, rematches Usyk, the IBF title becomes vacant, but also that WBO title becomes vacant. You don't have to fight anyone for the vacant title. You're just elevated to full champion. So there you go, you're heavyweight champion again. Even that interim title gives you a little bit of bargaining at the negotiating table, but if you get elevated to full champion, well, there you go, I'm world champion again. And I think a win over Zhilei Zhang, especially considering the fact that with Deontay Wilder, if he went in there and he knocked Zhilei Zhang out, because Filip Hrgović took Zhang's out, Filip Hrgović beat Zhilei Zhang, but a very controversial decision for some people. A lot of people feel as though Zhilei Zhang won the fight if Deontay Wilder went in there and found that killer instinct, found that raw aggression that he used to have, let that right hand go and say he dropped and stopped Zhilei Zhang. That would absolutely reignite his career, would catapult him right back into the limelight, because he would have gone in there and he would have knocked out a guy who just off the back of two devastating performances over Joe Joyce. And his only loss prior to that was a very contentious decision. And Deontay Wilder, as he used to so often do, not leave it in anyone's hands, not leave it in the judge's hands, go in there, get the knockout. I think it's a risk worth taking. It genuinely is. If you're in Team Wilder, it's a risk worth taking, because at the end of the day, that performance against Joe Parker, I mean, that really was just, unbelievable for all the wrong reasons. And where are you going to go off the back of that? You're going to have to take a risk like this. I know some people are going to be saying, oh, well, Anthony Joshua, he fights, Francis Ngannou and get to it. And Deontay Wilder, well, Deontay Wilder was happy to try and fight Francis Ngannou, if you don't remember, earlier last year. I think in several interviews he talked about Ngannou. So a lot of these fighters, the Chisoras, the Joshuas, the Furies, etc., have mentioned Ngannou. Joshua's got that fight. Okay. Wilder fights Zhang. I'm all for that fight. I'd love to see it. I'm talking up Deontay Wilder's chances if he wins. In reality, if they did announce that fight for this, they haven't named the card yet, but if they announced it for March the 8th on the Joshua versus Ngannou undercard, I several others, would make Zhilei Zhang favourite. And I would make him quite a firm favourite based upon what I've seen in there against Joseph Parker. I would make him a very heavy favourite in there. Yes, he is older than Deontay Wilder by, I think he's 40, Wilder's 38. But Zhilei Zhang hasn't taken that much punishment, certainly in his pro career. He's been looking really good over the last 2 years, like really good. He didn't look that good prior to fighting Hrgovic, but he's been looking a lot better the last 2 years. And god damn, can he punch? He may be, I would say he may very well be the hardest puncher, if they do fight, amateur or pro, that Wilder has fought. Because you got to go with Luis Ortiz as one of the bigger punchers he's been in there with. Someone did leave this comment and they said Berman Stavern underrated puncher, and he is. Certainly in his prime. Berman Stavern, a tremendous puncher. In fact, actually, I'm going to give you a recommendation. Deontay Wilder fought Harold Sconis. To this day, we still can't see that fight. Wilder stopped him in, I think it was 3 or 4 rounds. I think it was 4 rounds. Now go, and this fight is on YouTube, go and type in Berman Stavern versus Harold Sconis. The fight ends in a round. And you want to see how hard, you want to talk about devastating power, go and look at that fight and the knockout Berman Stavern scores. When he was lighter and he could move a little bit, and he was obviously younger and hadn't taken beatings, that guy had punching power and then some. Go and look up Berman Stavern versus Harold Sconis and you're going to see a brutal knockout. Brutal knockout. That's what God's saying on that. I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Looking forward to the weekend's fights, lads. Looking forward. Not going to lie. Callum Smith, Art Baturbiev. Oh, boy. We're going to have fun there. Peace.